Rise of the Guardians. I think this is where we see the ultimate crossover that kids have always dreamed of. Sure, there's already one for cartoons in Who Framed Roger Rabbit and one for video games in Wreck-It Ralph, but this one is a crossover between legends that everyone has heard of. Santa, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, the Sandman, and Jack Frost all joining forces to fight against the Boogeyman. Let's be honest here, people, how genius of an idea is that? But can DreamWorks deliver that idea and make it look good as it sounds, or will they make it in a way that makes it look better in our heads? Let's find out. The story. It really shows that the main focus here is not in the writing. The story is best described as being told in a fairy tale style, where it would take something small and make it really big. Like if we see a small group of kids don't believe, then no one in the world believes. Also, like a fairy tale movie, the plot is actually very basic, since it's mostly about Jack Frost trying to find out who he is and why he's here. But does it actually work? Well, not really. The problem is that they're taking this fairy tale story and try to tell it in a Hollywood-style action movie, or in this case, telling the story like it's the Avengers, where the main focus is more on the visuals and having characters we all know join forces to fight evil. Now, a fairy tale movie with some action can be done right, like in Sleeping Beauty with Prince Philip fighting the Maleficent dragon. But in order for the whole film to work, the main focus has to be the story, where it feels like the movie is reading us a fairy tale. And that's where Rise of the Guardians falls flat here. It rather wants to show us the big action scenes rather than telling us why Jack exists in this world. Don't get me wrong though, they do get many of the ideas and their own takes on these legends very well, like how Santa, the Easter Bunny, and more would work to bring kids joy, how kids believing is important to them as if it gives them purpose in life, and the idea of being a guardian. But even if they do have some great material with them, like most DreamWorks films these days, the story is definitely not its strongest point. The animation. Remember when people say that How to Train Your Dragon had the best animation ever created by DreamWorks? Well, that was a long time ago. Where do I begin with this? How about the character design? I love how they give them more of a mystical yet epic twist in their design, in a way that they're dressed more for battle than how we usually see them, like Santa is a Russian swordsman, the Easter Bunny is an Australian warrior, the Tooth Fairy is part human, part hummingbird that has an army of tiny tooth fairies, the list goes on. Also, the character design has a more storybook feeling to it, making them look somewhat realistic, but have more of an artistic look to them as well. I also like to add how the character animation works really well here, thanks to the many action scenes with the Guardians fighting Pitch and his wave of dark horses. Then we have some of the settings, like where our characters would hide out doing their business to bring kids joy. Sure, the movie would go in an average town, and there's nothing really special about that, but the movie would mostly go in huge places that have a magical feeling to them, like Santa's workshop or the Tooth Fairy's Indian-style lair. But what makes the animation so amazing to watch here is the attention to detail. From every little house in Tooth's lair to every grain of sand that the Sandman uses, the detail is not only what helps bring the look of the movie and the visual effects come to life, but it's what helps us to enter in their world. I also noticed that the animators must have had a lot of fun making this, since the movie can get very creative like sandy sand creatures, and very colorful like in Bunny's Easter Island. To be honest, I have absolutely no idea how DreamWorks can ever top themselves after making animation like this. The characters. Of course, I've mentioned that these are classic characters that are given a new action twist to them, and to how the movie is, it really works. There are characters that take it to a whole new level and making them highly memorable, like Santa is a strong and fearless leader with a heart of gold, while Bunny is a more of an aggressive supporting character. But then we would have characters that are okay, but aren't really as fleshed out as much, like the Tooth Fairy is always obsessed with teeth, which is just a shtick that gets old pretty quick, and our main character, Jack Frost, while is a well-developed character, he reminds me too much of Simba in The Lion King during his adult life, but without the romance. And then we have the ones in the middle who are not as memorable as the Easter Bunny or Santa, but they are more enjoyable to watch than Tooth and Jack. There's Sandy, who is a silent character a la Tinkerbell who would always be great to look at when he does his work giving kids dreams. And then there's the main villain, Pitch, aka the Boogeyman. He's as if you take Hades from Hercules and you give him a more slow and menacing approach to him. He can get threatening at times, and there are some moments where it feels like there's a good chance that he'll actually win. But then we have Jamie, the little boy who would always believe in the Guardians. I feel like he slows down the movie because, yeah, he's our indicator if kids would still believe or not, but it would be better if we see more of the Guardians than knowing who this kid is. He could have been an extra like every other kid and it wouldn't have made a difference. There are some that may need some work, but in a whole, there's a good chance that this will give you a new image to these legends. Rise of the Guardians is an action-packed wonder to behold that may not have a story that's as strong as it could have been, but it makes up for it with DreamWorks' best animation that they could craft yet, and a new twist to some beloved characters. I think this would be a film that I'd recommend to anyone to go see it. It'll mostly be the kids and the animation fans that will get more of a kick out of it, but the rest will enjoy it as well. It'll give you a sense of nostalgia of a time when you did believe in the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny, and how that little magic gave you a sense of joy. I have never seen an animated movie that made me look back to my childhood like that since Toy Story 3. And I think that's the movie's biggest charm.